Christo-fascists and forced birthers seriously have overplayed their hand, and I love that for them. And the data is not going to play out. It's going to be 5 years, 10 years down the line where we start to see what happens because these people, these red states, these Christo-fascists are going to have the young women moving away from their states. They're going to have women choosing not to go to their states for college. They're going to have young women not choose to work in their states after they graduate high school. So there's going to be a shift, but the numbers won't come until later. But we have some numbers that we can see, and we will continue to see the data. The birth rate has been falling for a while now. Now, if more people keep getting sterilized voluntarily, then we'll certainly be seeing these numbers. And like I said, the forced birthers are forcing women's hands because some women simply do not want to bring forth babies. It's just where we are right now. Now, this article is coming out of NBC News, but a few different people have written about this one. More young people choosing permanent sterilization after smbortion restriction. So this came out a few days ago. The number of young adults who chose tubal ligation and vasectomies as birth control jumped abruptly after the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade in 2022 and has continued to rise, new research shows. The paper published Friday in the JAMA Health Forum is the first to focus specifically on the contraception choices of women and men aged 18 to 30 after the Supreme Court's decision in Dobbs v. Jackson Women's Health Organization ended the constitutional right to smbortion. Studying this age group is important because they are much more likely to have a smbortion and to experience sterilization regret relative to their older counterparts, said co-author Jacqueline Ellison, an assistant professor at the University of Pittsburgh School of Public Health. A vasectomy is a routine procedure in men that blocks sperm from reaching semen. Tubal ligation or sterilization involves cutting, tying, or removing the fallopian tubes to prevent sperm from reaching the egg. It's difficult to prove the Dobbs decision caused a rise in women and men undergoing permanent birth control, but the new study used a particular statistical approach that, Ellison said, strongly suggested an increase in sterilization procedures flowed from the Supreme Court's decision and the subsequent actions in 21 states to ban or further restrict access to smbortion. Ellison and her fellow researchers analyzed medical records data from academic medical centers and affiliated clinics nationally from two periods, January 1st, 2019 up to May 31st, 2022. That was before the Dobbs decision, and then after the Dobbs decision, June 1st, 2022 up to September 30th, 2023. That was after Dobbs. They found there were roughly 58 more tubal ligations per 100,000 outpatient visits after Dobbs and 27 more vasectomies per 100,000 visits. There was a lot of fear and anxiety around whether people were going to be able to get a smbortion that they needed or wanted, even fears about being able to access contraception down the road. Now, in this particular NBC article, you can this is a map that you can touch to see which restrictions are in which states. So I'm not going to go over that. You have to click each state to see which state is extra restrictive or whatever. In the dark blue states, women are still protected or have legal rights to their reproductive systems. In the orange, that's where the forced birthers have pushed, restricted women. Women are being pushed out of those states. I'm sure that women will start leaving those states. Obviously, that is conjecture, and we would have to wait to see if these orange states are going to have a pink migration of women leaving that state. In Michigan, for example, the Supreme Court's decision allowed a 1931 law making all smbortions a felony to be enforced. 2.5 months later, a permanent injunction blocked the law, and 2 months after that, Michigan voters passed an amendment to the state constitution that established an individual right to reproductive freedom. Every time these GOP forced birthers have put something on the ballot box, the voters have pushed back and pushed back hard. So they have been mollywopped 7 out of 7 times that the voters had the opportunity to vote. And I love that for them because they don't listen. They keep putting these up. They keep pushing back so hard that they are pushing voters. They're pushing lukewarm women to the ballot box. And I'm here for it. Hopefully that makes them go the way of the dodo birds. All right. Liang and several colleagues analyzed electronic health records at one healthcare institution in Michigan and found that requests for tubal sterilization surged in the months after the Dobbs decision and then returned to baseline. The decrease back to baseline after 6 months may have been due to the demand being met. A decreased sense of urgency after smbortion access was temporarily protected, or crisis fatigue, they wrote in JAMA last year. Using medical records to analyze contraception decisions captures the decisions of only patients, not those who have not sought medical care during the time period studied. In a recent study, Megan Kavanaugh, the principal research scientist at the Guttmacher Institute, and a colleague analyzed survey data of reproductive age women in 4 states, finding an increase in condom use but no significant changes in permanent contraception methods. The report from Guttmacher, a research and policy organization that supports smbortion rights, was published in a medical journal in February. This broader population of women may not necessarily have strong attitudes about pregnancy prevention, said Kavanaugh, who was not involved in the new study. A more complete examination of contraception choices in the United States will be available at the end of the year when the federally sponsored National Survey of Family Growth releases data from January 2022 through December 2023. Kavanaugh said, the pandemic interrupted the survey, and the latest data available is from 2019. It is the gold standard for much of the data we track around sexual and reproductive health care and their outcomes. Data takes a little while to collate, to compile, so it's going to be a lag. But what I am seeing, the shift that I'm seeing, obviously, is just coming from women talking about these things in itself. So, it's coming. Women's voices are not being heard, but we will be able to hear women's voices through the data. But like I said, it's going to be a lag. Y'all let me know what you think about this one. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. Now I want to talk about this article that came out at the end of March. Self-managed smbortion increased in the 6 months after Dobbs. Things that were happening right after Dobbs tells the story that some of these women are just like, no, we see where things are going. And I'm glad the data is now coming out. Self-managed smbortion using smbortion pills increased in the 6 months following the Supreme Court decision that repealed federal protections, new research shows. A study published in the JAMA on Monday is a groundbreaking look at how self-managed smbortion pills is becoming more and more common since the overturning of Roe v. Wade. It's one of the few studies to analyze the prevalence of smbortion outside of formal healthcare settings in the U.S. Researchers found that 27,838 provisions of pills were sent to smbortion-seeking people via community groups, international telemedicine organizations, and online sources in the 6 months after the Dobbs v. Jackson women's health decision that repealed Roe v. Wade. Each of these provisions is defined as the mailing or delivering of a pill pack for self-managed smbortion. The lead author of the study, University of Texas at Austin Associate Professor Abigail Aiken, told HuffPost, the number of pill packs distributed represents a 322% average monthly increase from pre-Dobbs levels of medication smbortion used for self-managing care, according to the analysis. We see over and over that when smbortion bans are present, it doesn't necessarily change the need for smbortion, Aiken told the HuffPost. People quite often look for it outside of the formal healthcare setting if access within the formal healthcare setting is taken away. And I think that's what we're seeing play out here. Self-managed smbortion refers to the drugs, either mifepristone or misoprostol, or just misoprostol to induce smbortion without the oversight of a clinic or physician. The study defines self-managed care as pills used without the involvement of a U.S.-based provider or clinic. Its tally doesn't account for medication drugs distributed through U.S.-based telehealth. Smbortion done this way is safe and effective for anyone less than 13 weeks pregnant, according to the World Health Organization. And then this goes on to talk about what the Supreme Court was doing when it was listening to since this article is a few weeks old, this is where the Supreme Court was listening to the safety arguments from the forced birthers. Like one of these pills was should be pulled for whatever reason. But the Supreme Court was giving that a side eye and wasn't really going for it. But that doesn't mean that the forced birthers won't stop. Anyways, what we are seeing is our women pushing back. They're like, you think that you're going to control our reproductive system again? They're like, no, we're going to find ways around all of these bans. And that is precisely what women are doing. All right, jump in the comments. Let me know what you think about this article. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. A lot of deadbeats are in their find out season, and I'm here for it. So this is Serena Williams and Venus Williams' daddy, but he's also the deadbeat daddy to several other kids that he walked out on before he created Venus and Serena with their mama. Now, this title of this article is so out of pocket, but we're going to read it. Judgment Day. Judge to decide if Serena Williams' ex-stripper stepmom will lose family home of 29 years after blowing $600,000 loan. Lakeisha Williams has been accused of stealing property from Serena's dad, King Richard, by faking his signature. So maybe Lakeisha Williams was his karma. I don't know. Lakeisha Williams has repeatedly fallen behind on paying back the $600,000 debt, which is saddled on a 4-bedroom mansion worth $1.4 million in Palm Beach, Florida. So this is King Richards and his young tenderoni, Lakeisha Williams, who is like old enough to be his daughter. Lakeisha is accused of stealing the $1.4 million home from King Richard by faking his signature. And I guess this is the home. And obviously, this is Serena Williams, and they're just using her name for clickbait. The debt comes after the 45-year-old, who is nearly half the age of estranged husband King Richard, 81, faked his signature on the title deeds into her name and took out a $279,000 mortgage with the hard lender David Simon, court documents allege. The property has been in the Williams family since 1995, when legendary tennis coach Richard purchased it with Serena's mom, Oracene, for $355,000. Simon has been chasing through the courts for the loan to be repaid for the last 7 years, with it rising to over $600,000 at one stage, including interest and attorney's fees. Lakeisha blew through the huge amount of cash on a failed trucking business and fast food and frivolities, according to court papers. This is who King Richards married. But the ex-Miami nightclub dancer barely made a dent in the repayments for the first 5 years and delayed the property's foreclosure by filing for Chapter 13 bankruptcy, which failed twice, as now on the third attempt. She's been trying to keep up with the approximate $10,000 a month plan, but that first came unstuck in August last year when she fell behind by $13,000. Now she's fallen even further behind and owes over $36,000 on top of the monthly repayments. After the first lapse, Judge Mindy Mora warned her that she would lose the home if she didn't keep up with this plan. If the modified plan does not provide for payments to a secured creditor, such creditor is granted in rem stay relief to pursue available state court remedies against any property of the debtor which secures the creditor's claim. The bankruptcy trustee has now filed a motion for the case to be dismissed for noncompliance, and the judge is set to order this next Monday, where it will remain to be seen if Mora will allow Lakeisha a third chance. If it goes against Lakeisha, then the house will likely go into foreclosure, and Simon isn't the only creditor in this legal battle. There are at least 24 other creditors, but he is the only secured creditor. Lakeisha's lawyer, Eliza D'Souza, is suggesting a new 5-year repayment plan of $8,241 for 25 months, over $14,000 for the next 4 months. Okay, so they're just trying to come up with a structured plan. But what I really wanted to get to is how this is what he deserves, and he's in his find out season, and he should have received this a long time ago. He was just a sperm donor. He was a deadbeat to several other kids that he left behind when he got with Venus's and Serena's mother. And yeah, we're going to talk about this today. And this is another reason why I would never have watched the whole King Richard after I found out that he abandoned his first wife and first set of children. He's a deadbeat to the highest order. The father of Venus and Serena Williams supported his tennis daughters through thick and thin. He helped them realize their dream of becoming who they are today. However, outside of the tennis court, Richard Williams had a hard time maintaining his personal relationships. He was once accused by his estranged daughter, Sabrina Williams, of not being the father she wanted. Now, that is very euphemistic. She accused him of being a deadbeat. King Richard has 6 kids from his first marriage with Betty Johnson, but unknowingly, for some reason, he left the family and never looked back at his kids. Furthermore, he moved on with his life, married tennis legends Williams' sister's mother, Orsine Price, becoming an inspirational father to his daughters from his second marriage. Now, whoever wrote this wrote it very grammatically weird. Dude was just a deadbeat. He said it was said that he went to get a bike for his 8-year-old and never came back and left those kids in poverty and their mother to pick up the pieces. He's a deadbeat, and everything that he is getting, he deserves currently. He deserves everybody walking out on him for how he walked out on his first wife and first set of children. Back in 2020, in an interview with the U.S. Sun, the 80-year-old tennis coach's daughter from his first marriage talked about her relationship with her father. She emphasized that he was absent whenever her siblings or her mother needed him by their side. She said he is a selfish man, lives only for himself, and uses his kids to get what he needs. He's not a dad, he was a sperm donor. And hopefully he expires alone. Y'all jump in the comments. Let me know what you think about this. Don't forget to like, comment, and share.